What's up, everybody? It's your favorite podcast, Get a Bucket. I'm your host, Train, as usual. I hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day. Now, as I said before, this is a two-part series, so this is part 2, and we're going to talk about teams 1 through 7. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started, because I know you guys are interested about which picks I think which team should make. So let's get into it. With the 7th pick in the NBA 2020 draft, the Pistons should select Kilian Hayes. Now, he's out of France. He's a 6'5" point guard. I compare him to Tony Parker because of his mid-range and floater game, and then Deron Williams because he has a slight little boogie into his game, and then also his height. Now, that equals, I believe, Spencer Dinwiddie. And I like Spencer. I think he's a great pick for the Nuggets. Now, Kilian is not an elite athlete, and I want to see how he does against those quicker players, those more athletic players, because sometimes when you play overseas, you don't get that athletic competition that you're going to face in the NBA. So I do wonder how he's going to fare against the athletes. However, he does seem like a skilled point guard, and again, he has good size. He's shown the ability to have the inside game and the outside game. Right now, he has the opportunity to just hoop with no expectations on this Pistons team. You could legit expect them not to perform well next year. I really think they're going to try to trade Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose. I don't see a reason why you want to keep them. You're not going to win a championship, no disrespect, but you're not going to win a championship with those two. So with that being said, drafting Kilian Hayes, preparing for the future, it's nice to have a solid point guard to start off with. And I think bringing him in, no expectations really, and just trying to build up your team, that might not be a bad situation for this young France guard. With the 6th pick in the NBA 2020 draft, the Hawks should select Isaac Okoro out of Auburn University. He's 6'6", he's a 6'6" wing, and I compare him to a Justin Anderson. Now, in college, he didn't really seem to create his own shot, and he wasn't that good of a shooter either. But with that being said, the man can jump, and his athleticism seemed like quality. Oh, by the way, he's playing in the SEC. So there are no slouches when it comes to athleticism, right? And it just looked as if like his highlights just stood out for some reason. And I think you can pair that well with Trae Young. It not only elevates on the defensive end, but also the transition game. You can now throw it to him. You can throw it to John Collins. And then you also have shooters to space out. Plus, like you're a shooter yourself. I think Okoro just brings an extra level of tenacity, an extra level of athleticism to their team, which could be needed. They have a lot of skilled guys, but I think it's now time to get some Rough Riders. I think it's now time to get some athletic dogs in there, and Okoro could actually fit that mold. So with that being said, I think that's a great pick for the Hawks to have. With the 5th pick in the NBA 2020 draft, the Cavs should select Dani Avida. Now, he's out of Israel, and he's a 6'9" small forward. I compare him to Tony Kukoc and Danilo Gallinari. Now, both were good complementary players who were like 6th man of the year or like a fringe all-star caliber type players, right? I do have some worries with Denny's ability on the defensive end and his athleticism. It seems sufficient overseas, but that might have been more so due to his size. I think he's going to have to definitely bulk up, especially if he wants to play small forward, and he's going to have to show a little bit more quickness. I want to know how he defends against these small forwards, against these power forwards. But with that being said, he could pan out to be a nice stretch 4, solid small forward. And going on to the Cavs team, he could actually carve out a nice spot for himself in the league, because they already have 2 guards who one likes to play make, one likes to attack, and then they have a plethora of big men. And some of them, like Kevin Love, can space out the floor a little bit, but Tristan Thompson and Andre Drummond are more than likely going to be down on the interior. So then he can actually make a name for himself on this team by providing more shooting than they usually have. I mean, I like some of their players on their team, but like Cedi Osman, for example, he's okay, but I think we've seen his peak already. then he can maybe go a little higher. So I think he can actually fit real well on this team. Cavs aren't going to win a championship anytime soon, but again, this is more so for his career overall, because I don't think he would end up with the Cavs. Expecting him maybe to go to the Mavs at some point because of Luke and Kristaps Porzingis, but that's another story for another day. With the 4th pick in the NBA 2020 draft, the Bulls should select Obi Tobin out of Dayton University. Now he's a 6'9" power forward, and I compare him to Blake Griffin and Aaron Gordon, like literally just merging those two, and I think you get Obi Tobin. I want to see if his 3-point percentage in college can translate into the NBA. And in addition, his defense was not that great. Like, it was average or below average. So those are some things that I need to see from him. Now, on the positive note, he's an athletic tweener who can catch the ball via a lob. He can run in transition, and he shot 42% from 3. So if all of that transitions well, we might see an all-star caliber player with the Bulls. And adding that to Zach LaVine, Kobe White, Chris Dunn, Wendell Carter Jr., these are, even Otto Porter's no slouch. Like, he's a decent 3-and-D guy. Like, these Bulls could start making some noise, and now you have 2 potentially all-star caliber players on your team. And I still like Wendell Carter Jr. on the squad, and he fits in well. Again, it all translates to, it all depends on if his 3-point percentage can translate to the NBA. If so, they're going to draft a really nice prospect, and he could make the argument for being number 2, number 3. But that's my only reservation for that. With the 3rd pick in the NBA 2020 draft, the Hornets should select Anthony Edwards out of Georgia University. Now, he's a 6'5" shooting guard, and I compare him to a Victor Oladipo in terms of game, and then like Tyreke Evans in terms of the build, right? Now, maybe not as much on the defensive end for Victor in terms of defense, but Anthony Edwards' defense is his knock against him. Like, point blank period. And the fact that he doesn't take ideal shots. But sometimes the star just has to force up terrible shots. Like, that does happen in the game of basketball. Look at Kobe, look at Michael Jordan. Like, we've seen that happen, right? But outside of those issues, he's a big scoring guard with good intangibles and a star potential. He can also play alongside Devontae Graham and Terry Rozier to score the ball and gain his confidence. And let's be honest, people, the Hornets aren't going anywhere anytime soon. So with that being said, why not rebuild, kind of get the Charlotte fans excited again about a particular player, and you can go from there. I think they messed up when they drafted MKG. They thought he was going to be higher than what he was. And I think ever since then, it's just been bad pick after bad pick after bad pick. Now they've been kind of getting some decent picks with Devontae Graham and people like that. PJ Washington's playing decently. And then you also have, oh my goodness, what's the boy's name? Michael Bridges. And I'm sorry, you have Bridges out there. So I think just adding Edwards to this team gives him the confidence. I think he might end up being the alpha dog eventually, and that'll be great for the Hornets. Now they have a young roster who can possibly grow, and maybe you can flip some of these players for a star to bring in to play alongside Anthony Edwards. You never know, but I think Anthony Edwards could fit in nicely for the Hornets. Second pick in the NBA 2020 draft, the Warriors should select James Wiseman out of Memphis University / not available. And he's a 7'1" center. And I gotta say, I compare him to like a young Dwight Howard, athletic-wise, and JaVale McGee, length-wise. Because Dwight Howard's not 7'1", he's about 6'9". And JaVale McGee's not as athletic and explosive as James Wiseman is. Now, to be fair, we did only get a small sample size for Wiseman. He played about 3 games in college. And we actually gave a lot of crap to Kyrie for playing 11 games in college. So with that being said, 11 games versus 3, you kind of have to give James Wiseman the same amount of crap, maybe 4 times as much. But outside of that, he was dominant, just like Kyrie. Like, you saw it. It was easy. He was catching lobs. He was blocking on the interior. He seemed very mobile. I liked him. Like, he had a nice inside presence. And that's what the Warriors need. Think about it. In their reign of terror in the NBA, they had Steph, they had Clay, they had Draymond. Those were the constants. Granted, they lost Kevin Durant, Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston, players like that, but they also had a mobile big man who was able to run, who was able to really do the bare minimum. And now they have somebody who can actually score on a night in, night out basis, at least giving you 10 to 15 on a somewhat respectable level. I think that'll be great for them, and especially considering the fact Steph and Clay aren't going to be around forever. So that gives you now a person who you can bridge over to lead you to the next couple of years, potentially. So they lucked up in getting this nice pick, and I think they're going to go James Wiseman. I wouldn't be mad at him for that. He plays really nicely. And you also have Andrew Wiggins. So if you don't flip him, let's say Andrew Wiggins plays well. Now you have two young stars or two young players who could potentially show you some promise as producing you some star level production. The number one pick in the NBA 2020 draft, the Timberwolves should select LaMelo Ball. Now he played out of Israel. He played on the international team for the Hawks, and he's a 6'7" point guard. I compare him to Penny Hardaway and Lonzo Ball. Because remember, Lonzo, let's remember here, people. Lonzo was 3 assists, rebounds, and a point away from averaging a triple-double. His issue was the fact that he did not shoot the ball, or was not at least aggressive enough on the offensive end. I don't think we're going to have this issue. In fact, I think it's going to be more towards the extreme on the fact that we might have terrible shots being taken by Melo. Like I think, I'm sorry, LaMelo. I'm not gonna call him Melo. That's Carmelo's name. That might be an issue for LaMelo. But and also his defense. We've already known that though. But on the flip side, he has great potential. He's already a solid playmaker and a quality scorer, and he can play alongside Cat and D'Lo. They right now need a second and third option because Cat is first option level and D'Lo is fringe second option. I'd be a lot more comfortable if he was my third. So right now he can sit in place for that second option. And adding LaMelo Ball onto their team now gives you two dynamic playmaking guards, and they're big, by the way, like 6'5", 6'7", who can feed Cat or can shoot the ball. Now all you need is to add yourself some wings and some other additional big men who can just do your dirty work. And you have 3 quality talents on your team, and you can build for the future still. You won't need to trade picks, or if you need to flip LaMelo Ball, let's say for a Devin Booker, now you can if you so choose to, and it makes a little bit more sense. Like, we get it. He fits in better than LaMelo does. But I still like LaMelo coming into this team, showing out for at least a year, seeing what you can do with D'Lo and Cat. And I think if LaMelo pans out well, because D'Lo can play off ball, so LaMelo can run the point if need be. It all can work out really nicely. You just need to give it time, and especially once LaMelo gives a lot more energy on the defensive end. You've already seen what his brother can do. How come he can't do the same thing at a very similar size? But yeah, that's my take for the Wolves. I really hope they draft LaMelo Ball. He's honestly, in my opinion, the best talent in the NBA draft this year. Well, those are my picks this year, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you all think in the comment section below. Hope you all agree, but I hope some of you don't agree, because I'm down for a little commenting. Let me know what you all think in the comment section below. But hey, hope you all have a good one. Take care.